Alan.
I call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the meeting this morning is approval of the agenda as presented. Any additions, modifications? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
First one up is Sean Scott, GIS. Get you in and out quickly.
My name is Sean Scott. I'm a GIS coordinator, consultant, and county service manager for Perry County for WTH Technology. Currently, thank you.
That way you get picked up with the voice and everything, and people can hear you.
Currently, there's a grant available through the Indiana GIO office for address and centerline cleanup, and this is to meet into the state standard for next-gen 911. What it is over the years, when 911 kind of was a thing, there was never really a standard set as far as which direction we're going to go. And now here we are, probably, what would you say, 30 years later, and everybody's starting to say, well, I thought we were on the same page, but we're not. So now they're requiring that everybody meet these standards. One of the biggest reasons for it is because we don't have cell phone, or we don't have phones anymore. Used to be your phone was connected to a line, which was connected to your house, which was connected to a pole, which was next to a road. And it was easy to say that if you had a 911 call, where it was going to. Now nobody hardly has a phone, and it's all going by cellular. So you're needing GIS points or latitude and longitude for 911 purposes. So what this grant is to do, this is the third grant that's been available here in Indiana. We've already done, I believe, 25 counties here in Indiana. We've already done this project on the first two rounds of grants, and this is the third one. What's nice about this one, being through the GIO office, partnering with the 911 board and the DLGF, is there's a 0% match. The ones prior to that had a 20% match. On this project, we're looking at, I believe it's 28,000.
890.
What's that? I'm sorry.
28,890.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so that falls underneath the threshold. So there, again, there would be a zero match for any funds to come out of the county for this. I've talked with Steve. Steve would be our point of contact if you choose for us to move forward with this. Another thing that's nice about this grant is that the directors won't have to do anything. They're going to basically create a user account. We're going to go in with them and help them fill in the portal information, and then we do the GIS data conversion. And that will get you then to a state standard. The difference between the national standard and the state standard is like anything. The national standard is here. States are actually above it. There's a few more things that individual states are requiring out of these things that the federal government doesn't care about. So with Indiana, I believe it might be that they're making sure that the address is within the parcel, and they're making sure there's some other things. The next step, probably moving forward, right now your GIS points are latitude and longitude. Which is an X and a Y. In the future, there will be a Z, which means how high up in the air are you? And that's going to be for multiple level, which you do have a couple of downtown city that's multiple level apartment complexes.
We have the high rise and the ones there by on 7th Street, the only one's high.
Yeah. So that's a future change that may come down the road. But what we're basically looking for is for your blessings for us to move forward with Steve on this project. Unless there's any other questions.
When will you know about the grant?
It opens next week.
Opens next week.
Yes. One thing that's going to be a little bit unique about this grant is that they're accepting 9 applications per month. And this will be open for 18 months. So if you were not submitted and approved on this first month, just try again next year until they run through the 18-month cycle.
Is there a limit on how much you can put in for the grant?
There is a limit to what they're going to pay.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Yes. Yes, they're going to pay up to $30,000.
So you're right there on there.
We're at 28. Yeah, we're a little bit under that.
Okay.
One of the things is that there's specific things they will only pay for. We do have some counties that have their own GIS mapping department. And one of the things let's say that that person says, you know what, I'll just do this myself. It doesn't go towards salaries. And so there is stipulations of what they actually fund for. We did have, like Posey County, when, I remember when they did theirs, when we did theirs for them, the amount of data that we had was over that threshold, so they had to pay, they had to pay extra out of pocket. And the other thing is perfect timing for this right now is that the 911 center is doing a conversion with the EZNet and AT&T, and so they have to have it to be in this language, this new next gen 911. So it's perfect timing that we're in this, and now we can continue to make the progress through this project and the county not be out anything. That's what happened with Posey County. They didn't get the grant, the second grant that was available. They had to do this upgrade into this CAD software, and part of that meant that it had to be in a certain format. So they had to do this on their own pocket.
So if you're not selected out of the first 9, you have to resubmit it, or it's automatically stays in that way?
That part I'm not sure is if we're just putting it in there, or if it's in a bucket and they're just going to review 9 more. This literally 2 Thursdays ago is when this they've been beating us around for about 3 months of how it's going to be. The only thing that possibly did change is the claims part of it. The lead service line report that we've been doing with Perry County has been, we're basically in a portal with the state. And so we're being funded through the state straight back and forth as the vendor. This one is kind of like building a house. We'll get a certain percentage upon acceptance. And then when we receive 50% of the work completed, then we'll receive another. And then when it's totally finished, then we'll receive another. So at that point, there may be there may be claims that'll be at different points in there. But once we hit, like I said, 50% accuracy or 50% submission, then we make another submission claim, and then it just keeps rolling like that until it's done.
What this really does is try to improve the 911 calls location-wise.
Yes.
Pinpoint a little closer.
Yeah, it's not so much the little closer as in it's how you do it. It's where the addresses are. And again, going back to that, what they call an MSAG. And that basically said that, Oak Hill Road is from here to here. And there's kind of like a ruler. And if you lived here, then that should be the 2516 mark. Well, now with no lines and of course things being moved around, now we're going to latitude and longitude because these new software doesn't go by that range.
Okay.
And the other thing it is on the cleanup part of it is moving forward. Another question is, will my address change? No, your address won't change. Okay, if your address is incorrect, if it's numbered incorrectly, odds and evens, being on one side or the other, or you skipped a number, maybe your house burnt and you built another house, but really that should be a different number, your address is not going to change. What will change is moving forward, if you have neighbors that go to build or do something, theirs will be in the correct format.
So any new addresses would be a little different.
Would be, right. They would be, corrected. They would be in the correct format. And there's a lot more fields, like Before, you just had 525 South Main Street. Okay, that was it. Now you've got pre-directions, post-directions, odds and evens. One of the things that's going to be helpful in the future for the highway department is that the road lines, the road center lines, the segments, before, again, like I said, we had, Oak Hill Road is from here to here. Now Oak Hill Road is going to go from this intersection to this intersection, this intersection to this intersection, from and to. And so there's just a lot more fields that go into there. What that's going to be handy for is we'll be able to work with the highway department and extract that 911 layer and turn it into a Payzer rating layer. And then that way they've got something that they can have a little bit better work with the Payzer ratings that they send for their community crossing grants and those kind of things. So it's something that we can use for one thing, but we can also use it for something else in the future.
Some of that Payzer rating was included in all that stuff when he came, Vialytics, when he came in.
Vialytics has the software. They put what appears to be like an iPhone in your front windshield drive.
Oh, I've got another county that's got that too.
And they,
That's pretty slick.
look at the cracks, look at the potholes, look at everything there, and then they arrive at a Payzer rating.
Yeah.
Just by driving the road.
I had just learned about that this year a couple of weeks ago with another county that we were talking about. I think it was Owen County.
We went on it. We done it with them and it was
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
slick on
I
the
do
results.
ours in Marengo for the town of Marengo.
Mhm.
I just go by my coffee cup, how much in my coffee cup move.
That's the problem. So that's the thing about it. And then at the end of the day, are you watching your coffee cup? Like you did at the beginning?
Most of the time around here, you'd be soaking wet.
Yeah.
So what do you need from us? Just an approval?
Blessings to move forward with Steve on this project.
I'd say.
I mean, it seems like a no-brainer.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I'd entertain a motion to approve the proposal presented by WTH.
Becky just made one, and I'll second that, so.
We have a motion, a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And just an update, I'm still working with Dr. Dom on
That's what I was gonna ask you about.
Yeah,
project.
for the EMS.
I just seen some stuff last week. I got a vendor that I work with on some equipment that's at a considerable price difference. The product that he was given a quote on is an absolutely incredible piece. But it'll also be like the sheriff coming in and asking for 12 Corvettes. It'll do the job, but is it exactly what you need?
Right. And your suggestion,
You're at that point now where ain't no fun getting in and out of them. I'm the same way.
your suggestion to see if we could test these units out?
Yes, that was when I asked my vendor. I said, is this something, because your topography, that's the question. You don't want to go and spend money on something that you're not sure is going to work.
Correct.
And he said, absolutely, that's not a problem at all.
So I don't know who you're waiting on, but also this next question is the cell phone provider.
Mhm.
I don't know whether your vendor has some demo cards, because I like to see you plug in an AT&T and a Verizon and that, and run them in the north and the south and that, and to see what kind of connectivity you have. Because, we have a big variance. all
It's
over.
terrible, especially in northern end, well, they're all over.
Sheriff, don't you have Verizon or you have AT&T?
In my car, we got Verizon.
Okay. Yeah.
But a lot of us have AT&T net on
On the phone.
our phone.
Right. I would say if you reach out to your cell phone provider, you could at least just do I don't know if they have hotspots now or anything with the ambulance service.
No,
They don't have anything at all. So I would say that
they're
your
running
vendor
blind.
would probably be able to do that. And same thing, maybe just asking for a 60 days. Because all you're needing is just a
Sure.
SIM card.
Right, we need to have connectivity there to make sure we know.
Right.
And I think then we're gonna end up with a variance. I don't know whether it's possible to have two of them on these systems.
2 SIM cards?
Yes.
Yes, so they are able to run 2 SIM cards. And it would then, when you lose one, it would pick up the other one.
So, because we have areas that are very remote.
One of the things I did with Orange County is we tested those. And when you're moving in with the AVL function, which is just sending the blip out every so many seconds, there may be a point where you drop service for 10 seconds, but you pick it back up. Well, if you're an ambulance moving down the road, that's not really that big a deal. If you're talking on the phone, you lose a phone call, then yeah, it's frustrating. But as far as the AVL location, that's what Perry County ran into. They bought that one vendor over another, and then when they looked at it, they're like, pretty well had pretty decent coverage.
Either one.
But like I said,
You were talking about Orange County though, right?
correct.
A lot flatter than us.
Yeah, it is. When you get up to the northwest side, yeah, it's a lot. But you get down southeast township, around Crawford and all that, it's.
I know when
Yeah,
you're
it's about
driving
the
from
same.
Tell City to Canton, at Radio Shack, you lose it.
Yeah.
When you get out one city limit for about 20 seconds till you get in the other one.
So we have a place, and it's funny because anybody in Crawford County that's having a phone conversation with anybody, and you lose them, when you pick back up, they'll say, "Oh, you were on Novak Hill."
Yeah,
Everybody knows it. I mean, usually you try to rush a phone call, "Hey, I'm getting ready to go down Novak Hill," and it's on 64 between English and Marengo. Why in the world? But it's
well,
just
37's the same way.
it's a low place like that. But we are still working on that.
So are you spearheading that, or is Michael gonna get the test equipment in to get that?
I will reach out to him and then put him in touch, which I did give him Mr. King's information.
Right.
He's the VP of that company. And that way, because we're software, we don't do hardware, but like I said, I try to look out for what equipment works, for other ratings. Actually, Pike County was the one that put me onto them, this company and so I think it'll be, an option. Again, an option.
That's the main thing. We need to make that determination, get it on the ambulances so they're not driving in the dark.
Absolutely, no problem. Anything else, like I said, you've got my number, just reach out to me. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item up is the minutes from 9/17/2024. Any additions, corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up is Greg Hendershot.
Good morning.
Morning, great.
You all get a copy of the quote that was sent, given out
On the,
on Eco Labs?
Yep.
Okay. Our heating and air guy, Josh Huff, asked me if we were treating our chiller and boiler loops. And I said, I'm not sure what you're talking about. And he said, well, they're supposed to be chemically treated to keep them from getting rust in them or the pipe starting to rust. So he put me in touch with Greg Frizzell, who is a local guy that works for this company, this Eco Labs. And I spoke with him about it. He agreed to come in, check our system at no expense to the county. He came in and tested the system, added what we needed to bring us back up. He talked about parts per million, and I don't know what all he was doing with it, but he was testing the water with chemicals and stuff. And he got us up to where we need to be. And I asked him to give us a quote on, because he says this needs to be done according to their recommendation 3 times a year. So that's what the quote there is for, keeping our chiller lines and our boiler lines chemically treated to where they don't rust.
The system's all closed loop, isn't it?
Yes.
just like an air conditioning loop.
Yeah, I know. The only, generally, did he find some problems with it?
It was low,
On what? You know?
whatever chemical that they use, I don't know.
Yeah. And you don't know the last time it was ever checked?
Well, I've been doing this since 2018, so
It hadn't been checked since 28. Okay.
No.
I know the school corporation had some problems with their inspection, and they had a company that inspected on the wrong side of the water softener, and they lost a complete heating unit, about $40,000 because they did that. So I'm sure he's okay with what he's doing, but usually on a closed loop system, unless you lose liquid, they stay fairly consistent. So I don't know if there's a difference between an annual inspection versus like 3 times a year. Because generally on closed loop systems, if you kind of envision this, it's just circulating.
Hmm.
And as long as there's no additional water put into the system, or if it's glycol based, it won't change significantly. Now, if you have deterioration of your iron pipes, you can start to get some action going on, but generally, if you get your water balanced, it doesn't do that. So I'm not sure whether there's a significant difference in the testing. I mean, if we've went, since 2018, we're looking at 6 years. I don't know, you might ask him once about that, because I'd like to know, because I'm not sure we need to be in there every 4 months checking the water.
Well, he said that if, some places don't want them to come in 3 times a year, so they'll do it 2 times a year, whatever your preference is. But he did recommend that we have at least have somebody come in and check it.
Mhm. It's a good practice, because you never, generally you won't have a problem, but it's preventive maintenance, because you'll take a heat exchanger and ruin it if your chemical gets out of balance. So I don't know, was there options for?
Once a year?
He said he would come in and do it just twice a year. This is for this place and the sheriff's office.
Yeah, anywhere we're circulating water, it's good to check it.
So I wonder if there'd be a difference in the price between 3 times
He didn't say that
everything
there would
months?
be, I can ask him, but he didn't say that there would be a difference in price.
You ask him once, because there should be, because he has testing chemicals involved
Yeah,
in his
yeah,
time.
those chemicals are in there.
But I think if we got on an annual.
He said that he supplies, they said that they supply the chemicals.
Yeah, I know they do. But I mean, that's built into their quote.
Yes.
But the thing about it is, if we did it on an annual basis and we found that the water was consistent within the looping system, then I think we'd be okay. If we saw a lot of variance for some reason, then maybe you want to test it more.
I would imagine he would come in just as often as you would want. If you want it just 1 time a year, then that's probably what he'd be willing,
Yeah.
to do.
So you've got it corrected
$1,000
now.
a year just right there.
Yes.
But
I'd like to see what he charges for once a year. I mean, it'd be preventative PM and
I'll call him and ask.
Vincent over there and just see what he would do there on that route.
I can send you guys an email.
For both the courthouse and the detention.
Yeah.
center. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's the only, I think 4 stairs out at the Armory. So
It is.
check on that if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Let us know where, because I think we have an interest
Where's it
to get it checked.
I'll make a phone call to him, see if the price is the same for just once a year. If there is any difference, I'll email you and let you know what I find out.
Come in
Thank
and
you.
check.
Thank you.
Next item up is the accounts payable, and it's payroll for 9/23/24 in the amount of $180,000, $180,040.81.
Approved. Make one.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is payroll withholding for 9/23/2024 in the amount of $40,231.16.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
The next item is payroll for October the 7th, 2024, in the amount of $174,669.24.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
The next item is, I think that's probably payroll withholding for 10/07/2024 in the amount of $37,240.16.
I'll make a motion.
Second that motion.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Health claims in the amount of $110,127.67.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Dental claims in the amount of $106.41.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Vision claims in the amount of $122.13.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Life insurance claims in in the amount of $1,420.28.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The accounts payable claim docket for 10/7/2024 in the amount of $1,193,906.14. The only thing that we need to correct, Chris, is the 114 on the maintenance. That 114 is special legislation that turned into capital at July 1, so that needs to come out of another account. Otherwise,
How much was it?
1 million.
No, I'm talking about coming out special.
I'll just change it. It's supposed to come out of 1112. I
Yeah,
believe.
it is a maintenance bill for plumbing in the amount of $2,197.18.
Well, we need,
Yeah.
actually, to be honest, we need to redo this because I know you guys made the change, but there's money budgeted out of it for
That's-
2024. So there's
Right, and
75,000.
65, I think. I think it's been drawn out, but I won't swear to that. But it was budgeted out of there. And I think it was drawn out prior to mid-year.
But that's what I'm saying is if it was in the budget,
I think it's been spent. I think this will be beyond what was budgeted.
Okay.
So you can clarify that.
okay.
The 114 was special legislation when the jail was constructed.
And there was money, but yeah.
Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up, we have title search for Onyx Road.
This is all.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
emailed
nice.
you guys on 9/20, asking for your approval for me to add this to the claim docket and asking where I wanted to pay it out of. You guys had verbally approved Andrew to move forward with this, but never said where you're gonna pay that out of, and so now I have that invoice. So I was trying to get it to where I could pay it on this claim docket, but didn't get an email response. So now I just added it here so I wouldn't forget to ask you guys where you want this paid out of.
What is the amount on that?
And then right here.
I think it was 500 something. Double check it.
I might be able to find it.
Was that all settled? I mean, I've got
I
2
don't-
inches of paperwork here on Onyx Road.
Well, I think they came to the conclusion the county doesn't have
Yeah,
an
it-
interest in it.
Yeah, it's owned by whoever.
Well, not the county.
I still have
Yeah.
it in my inbox.
It's
Andrew.
privately owned.
I just gotta scroll down.
So how's that gonna affect you, Steve, if it's privately owned?
You just can't do anything. It creates some issues for the people who live there.
Yeah.
But
And that's going for them to settle it out.
that's, the county really doesn't have
Yeah.
an involvement there. So,
I mean, there's records here that I've got that go back to 1500s, it seems like, 1600s. I've never seen the like of
General invoice last one.
oil and gas leases,
It's $550 to Regional Land Title Company.
no more than what.
so our question is where we're gonna come up with money to pay for that.
How much was it, Chris?
550.
What is there that what fund can we come out of with that?
I mean, I would say consulting, but you guys have already used all your consulting, so, I mean, I'd have to do an additional appropriation. I mean, that's where I would typically tell you to pay it out of was consulting.
I think we've used everything up
Yep.
that's got that type of,
Yeah, that's all gone.
What about the edit fund that fund that when we redid the highway garage out there for the EMS?
The
There's a
old,
little money in there for that.
What was it,
That's for
125
building
bucks in there?
maintenance, right?
no, he's talking about it was a 7390 or something like that. It was an older account
Yeah.
that had money in it.
Mhm.
years ago, they took it to pay for a study on sewer lines out on the interstate.
Yeah.
That's probably been
$125.
8 years
Yeah,
ago.
quite a bit was
There's
left
like
in there.
125 left in there.
It was
So
close.
like that.
It doesn't get replaced, it just sits there, and if you use it, it's gone.
Yeah.
So,
I could look into that.
It's an old account.
Yeah,
and it's part of the county, I mean,
Yeah.
What do you think it was called? What name? Is
What
it-
it actually
is it-
came from, it was supplemental from, that we got from local income tax. And it dropped into an account, it was a 7,000 number, and I'm thinking it was 7,390 or something in
been
that
a few
range.
years ago.
And it hasn't had any money put into it for a while. But it was there, and it was the excess that the state paid whenever they held back just a
Line
little bit.
study.
yeah, we'd get it in late summer, if I remember right, it was
Supplemental.
estimated, but it was above the estimate,
And now we just divide that out.
yeah.
We don't put the
It
supplemental.
doesn't go back into that account anymore, but it's there. That's probably a good place to get it out of.
Okay,
How
sound
many
like
years
you
ago
know.
was it? 10.
Last time we used that was to study, probably 15.
Let's start say 10, 12
Was the
years
last
ago.
time we used
Might be
anything out of
more than
that.
you
We
know.
used that sewer study at the north,
Mhm.
2 X's up north.
Yeah, that's what it came out of.
I would not answer. I would say on this one.
Okay, so I'm gonna, well, I don't know how to name that account, but we know what it's talking
Yeah, I
about.
know
So
what
I
it is.
did make a motion to pay the Onyx Road invoice out of the old supplemental local income tax.
Is that what you could call it?
Yeah.
There's a number for
I
it,
don't know
but
what you
it's.
call it.
I would
It's
call it the
probably
commissioner
supplemental.
fund,
It's probably
Andy, so I don't know if that's legal.
It used to be, that's what it was treated as. It was a little discretionary, but that's what it is.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Cash transfers. Steve, you want to tell us about this? You want us just to read through it?
Distress loan, yeah, distress, it's the repayment.
It came in less than what our estimate was, and what's left in there, we have to put back in the stress road repayment. It's a 10-year interest-free loan, so that has to go back in there before we can repay the.
Can you spend it?
No,
So in other words, you just have to fall back in there and wait for 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's because your bids came in under the 600,000 for the road work.
yes.
Right. Okay, so I got another question. When do you have any idea when you might get a notice from the state on additional community crossings for
I
this
talked to
year?
them Thursday, and she said it was gonna be the last of this month.
So that by the end of the month, we'll know whether we need to come up with
She said
matching. money.
sometime it's right before the election, sometimes right after, but it'll be, she said they're anticipating the end of October.
End of October.
Yeah, because I know it was supposed to be the end of September. Now they got the end of October, and the end of October will be the end of November. So
And it's gonna be too late to do anything,
yeah,
I mean, other than paperwork this year.
So, we have to have our projects completed, and then we're gonna apply again in
On the grants.
25.
You've got 1 year from the date you were awarded to come have it completed.
Okay.
to have it completed.
So, there's my next question.
Mhm.
Do we have to keep that separate? Or can we use, let's say, because we get it here in 24, and then we miss the construction season till in the spring. And if we're successful with additional funding in 25, can we get a project and use some of the 25 money with the 24 money and do a bigger project? As long
No,
as we get it completed?
when I do the application, you have to put in a specific road,
Okay.
and it has to be used on that road,
Then you have 1 year to complete it.
yes. Or they'll lock me up,
The what?
lock me up.
Are they gonna let you go to Allen's jail?
You can get 3 hots and a cot, so I mean,
Probably
it's,
not.
Okay. So all you want to do is transfer this back into the repayment fund, is all you're doing.
Because we have to. We don't have a choice. We have to.
We have to, yeah.
all right, I make a motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to transfer the funds back to the Distress Road Repayment Fund. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is, thanks, Steve, is the Riverboat Fund, and this is a bill for actual legal fees is what it's for.
These are additional appropriations out of your guys' funds, out of your fund.
We don't have any riverboat funds, do we? We do?
We added, because you guys are paying all those consultings out of Riverboat.
So they actually allocated us some riverboat money?
We are when you do additional appropriation.
Okay. As long as the council's on board with it.
Well, basically what happens, I used to fill out these additional appropriation forms, but then it was brought that they wanted you guys to approve them first, then come to the council.
Okay.
So, we got a bill, so I'm bringing it to you guys, making sure you guys are okay with it. Because you guys, we were paying it out of the consulting line item in general, but that got ate up. And then they made a motion to do all the rest of it out of general, or out of Riverboat. And then this is just how they basically said to do it, because I was signing them and turning them into the council, and then they said, well, shouldn't the commissioners be signing this? And I'm like, okay, if you want to prolong it for a month, then that's what we'll do. So I bring it to you guys, and then we wait till they meet again. So, yep. So they actually won't get paid this bill until November, the first meeting in November. So it'll be on.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to transfer riverboat funds to the consulting services. All those in favor?
All right.
All right,
Next item up is what we discussed at our last meeting. The heating and air conditioning unit has failed at the North Ambulance Station. And we had talked about, haven't got the fund set up yet, but it was in the edit fund set aside. And we voted to approve that project and pay it out of those edit monies.
how's that going, Steve?
It's up.
He got it done? Okay.
So I can't pay that invoice out until after, so typically I would, I filled out the paperwork for the additional, in the past, I would fill out the paperwork for the additional appropriation based off of your guys' verbal, but they like you to physically approve the additional appropriations since it's, in a sense, your guys' say. So then I will take this to them at the October 24th meeting to get the additional appropriation paid out. And so then this claim will be paid out on the first meeting in November's claim docket, so.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second to approve the air conditioning heating project at the North Station. All those in favor?
Aye.
It is working okay and everything, Steve? Okay, good.
Hey, Steve, you might let him know that the check will be coming in November.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
All right.
How they say that check's in the mail?
Government's wheels roll slowly.
I have an update to the,
That's quick.
that I texted you while you were on the phone. He agreed to do the $275 for one visit each year, at $275 for here, $275 for over there.
Okay, so we'd be at like $5.50.
Yeah, instead of over 2,000.
Who gets the report? Do you get that, Greg? He should fill out a report that says what he's found as far as the levels of different,
I would imagine that will probably come to me and then I'll turn it in.
I'm just thinking we need to get a file established. That way we can look back and we
when
can
it's
see
been
if
done.
something's deteriorating. It's like checking oil in your
I'll make
motor.
contact with him.
It'll tell you what parts are wearing out. And that way, as he produces them, we can start a file and get a little background on what's going on with each heating system.
All right, do we need to go back to number 5?
Yeah, we can. I mean,
Put in there that he's going to do it for $275 for
per
courthouse and
facility.
$275 for the jail.
Is that annual or biannual?
No, it's annual.
Annual.
$275 for here and then $275 for the jail.
And then if we see any irregularities, then we may want to change
He'll let
it.
us know.
So
I think it's a good
Yeah,
practice.
it's
it is. It'll save you. I mean, it's just like Alan lost
PMs.
a heat exchanger there one year, and I think it's $15,000.
Mhm.
So if you can avoid things like that happening.
Yeah, that's why they have PMs.
So
Well, I'll make a motion to have both of them done once a year annually
I'll
this
second.
year. So,
we have a motion to contract with Echo Labs for $275 per facility annually to test the contents of the closed loop heating and air conditioning systems. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next meeting is Tuesday, October 15th at 6 PM,
We'll be out of here.
and we will be at the Army. With that said, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.